Yes, US lawmakers have passed a two-year budget deal which will allow the government to raise spending by hundreds of billions of dollars to cover its debts. The bill passed the House earlier this week and is heading now to the Senate, which is expected to approve the measure next week. The deal is expected to head off a potential debt default this autumn and should be a big relief for the market. Under the agreement, the government's spending would be raised by $320 billion. According to reports, it'll increase the budget for both military and domestic programs. Despite the optimism in some quarters, though, economist Peter Schiff thinks the deal will only bring short-term relief.
The dollar is going to collapse because the only value that it has is confidence. But how can you have confidence in a currency where the government is going to have to print so much of it because it has so much debt? The national debt is really a pile of unpaid bills. And the reason we're raising the ceiling is because we can't pay our bills and we have to borrow more money so that we can pretend that we can. But it's going to be impossible to maintain this pretense indefinitely. This budget deal is a disaster. It should be a wake-up call to our creditors that we are never going to get control of government spending.
The US economy is the biggest in the world with a GDP of more than $19 trillion. But even that hasn't dispelled fears of a financial crisis because of national debt.
More than 70 years ago, countries all around the globe put their trust in the US dollar.
The dollar is the strongest, most widely used currency in the world.
Among the strongest, if not the strongest currencies in the world for a long time to come.
We are an economic superpower.
Money's going to be moving here. It's going to be moving to the dollars-denominated currencies around the world. It's going to move to the United States. And so I think we're just in the beginning of a bull market in the US dollar.
Till this day, it remains the strongest global currency. Everything from oil to timber is traded in dollars. But is it really that strong? The US national debt is currently $22 trillion and growing every second by around 45 bucks. Since dropping the gold standard in 1971, the Federal Reserve was no longer obliged to redeem the national currency for gold, effectively allowing it to print more money. In the 6 years after the collapse of investment giant Lehman Brothers in 2008, the US printed $12 trillion. That's a stack of $1 bills reaching a height of 1.3 million kilometers, or stretching 4 times further than the distance to the moon. But you'd think, print more and it's worth less. Except, it's not when it comes to the dollar. Because of its status as the world's reserve currency, everyone depends on it.
We are doing so well. Our country is becoming so economically strong again, and strong in other ways too, by the way, that the dollar is going to get stronger and stronger. And ultimately, I want to see a strong dollar.
Another currency known for its global domination, the Roman denarius. Almost pure silver, it was the backbone of the economy. But gradually it began to lose value, with less and less silver used in the coin. Eventually it became worthless. The status of Rome and the denarius as an economic guarantor worked just fine for centuries. But as many markets prove, sometimes simple trust is not enough.
If the dollar collapses, that's going to be a relief for the world economy. There will be some temporary disruptions, but overall it's going to be a very good thing for the rest of the world because they will no longer be forced to extend a gigantic subsidy to the United States. Of course, it's a much bigger story for the United States, a different story. The ride on the global gravy train is going to come to an end. Americans are going to see a precipitous decline in their standard of living as everybody abandons the dollar because the United States has abused the trust that the world has placed in the dollar because we've used the dollar's reserve currency status not only as a weapon to try to force other countries to do what we want, but to allow the government to continue to expand. All of this has been made possible by the world subsidizing us through accepting the dollar and holding it as the reserve currency. But we are abusing that privilege. We are using it to grow our government at the expense of our economy, and it's going to lead to a horrible day of reckoning.